coming to standing, and the chair is there for two reasons. You could use it for balance. So if you're a bit wobbly, you can hold the chair. And then we're going to do the neck exercises, and you might prefer to sit doing them depending on how your balance is. So that's an option as well. We might do a squat and maybe hold the chair to do a squat. So the chair is there to help you, but you don't want a chair that's on rollers. That's not going to work. Smooth ball. So we're going to start with standing and just sort of come to hip space. And think of your feet as a tripod. So you've got the ball of the foot is at the base of the big toe. Then you've got a smaller mound, which is at the base of the little toe. And then you've got the heel. So you've got sort of two tripods of bony landmarks. And you're just going to just rock from the heel into the two bony landmarks at the front of the feet. So today's class is mobility. And for a change, we're going to focus on the bones and we're going to focus on the joints. So just something completely different. So you're just rocking forward and back from the heel to the ball of the big toe and the smaller ball of the little toe. So they're the 3 points that we use for balance. You could move your body from side to side and see how you navigate through that as well. You could make a little bit of a circle and feel those 3 bony landmarks. And you could go the other way. So there'll be quite a bit of proprioception today, and the place of the body where we have the most nerves for proprioception are at C1 and C2. Really, really important part of the body to tell the brain where the body is in space. That's why neck issues can be quite sort of catastrophic, because they'll affect our balance and take away our confidence. The second place we've got the most proprioceptors is in the hips. So we're going to start at the feet and we're going to come up through the bones, and we're going to go through each of them and just see how we feel at the end of it. So grab your ball. I've chosen a smooth ball. We're going to put the heel on the floor and we're just going to go across right to left. So our feet are designed to navigate all sorts of uneven surfaces. And so they love this sort of movement. They're what they call mobile adapters. They adapt to whatever we stand on. So we're going right to left. All the things we normally do. We could go along the tendons. And when we're doing it from a joint mobility perspective, we're really not thinking myofascia. We're thinking moving the joints of the feet. We've got lots of joints in the toes. You're trying to sort of articulate and move each of those joints from the underside of the foot. So you're just working the foot. You could do in and out. You could do that sort of mobile adapter sort of challenge. So feel like you're really pushing into the bones, into the joints of the metatarsals and the tarsals in the feet, and you're just really helping them to be more mobile at their joints. Okay, so then we're going to put the ball in the middle of the foot and we're going to point the toe down, and you'll feel the muscles in the front of the shin, and then you're going to drop the heel to the floor. So you're pointing and flexing. So from the side, point and flex. Point, no knee bend, let the leg do the work. Point and flex, point and flex. So this is ankle. Okay, and then we could also just put the ball, if you've got a smooth ball, put the ball on the middle of the foot and just lift the other foot and just sort of pump a little bit. So that's really balance and feedback. Do a few of those. So it's a little bit quite stimulating, and it's really pushing up into those bones. So we've got some larger bones in the middle of the foot, the cuboid and sort of big square rectangular bones near and around the ankle, and it's good to just keep them really strong and supple because they can cause a lot of problems. So change speed. So we're going to just start on the broadest part of the foot and we're going right to left. If you stop for a minute and close your eyes, you will already feel very different in the side that you've worked. So this is your proprioception, your messaging back from the body to the brain about what's happening in the body, where it is in space. So right, left, and you're feeling like these mobile adapters, you're feeling like you're standing on uneven surfaces and your foot is having to adapt to that strange surface that you're walking on. So this is really good for the feet. Okay, we're going along from the toes to the heel, but we're focusing on the bones of the feet. Just working your way from the big toe out to the little toe. So not so much focusing on tendons now, just going from front of foot to back of foot. Working back in towards the big toe again. So then we put the heel on the floor and we pointed toe down, heel down. So the ball's at the middle of the foot and we're really articulating our ankles. So if our ankles are stiff and tight, that's going to affect our walking and our gait. There's a lot of myofascial stuff going on as well, but we're not focusing on that today. That's just something that's happening. And then we're on the middle of the foot and we're going to maybe step onto the ball and step off. So we're just really pushing up under the larger bones that are around the ankle. So sometimes those cuboid bones and those other bones in the feet, they get jammed and then you end up with a lot of pain and walking becomes quite difficult. So doing this sort of thing is really good to just keep those joints mobile and not sort of jamming and no impingement, no stuckness. Okay, so coming to, we'll take the ball away, we're done with the ball now. Coming into balance, and let's just start with the leg that's away from the chair. Let's just lift the leg and come back. And lifting and coming back. And lifting. So we do a few of these. If you're on a mat and the mat makes you feel too wobbly, then you go onto a harder floor. So a harder floor is much easier for balance and coordination. Maybe you're not using the chair, maybe you're just using one finger on the chair. Other leg. So again, proprioception is a strong sort of focus today, as well as bone mobility, because of the proprioceptors that are around all the joints of the body. So when we're doing this one, the proprioceptors in the hips are very active. So they're the second most active part of the body. The first most active part is the Atlantic and occipital joint at the top of the spine, where the skull begins. Okay, so come back to the other side, just lift the other leg and just try doing some ankle circles. So we've gone back to ankles. A little bit clicky maybe. Go the other way. Sometimes if you've twisted your ankle, if you rolled your ankle, you end up with quite a noisy, stiff ankle. Bring the leg down. So there's a fair bit of ab work in that, as well as balance and coordination. So try the other leg. Wobbling is not a bad thing. Wobbling means that you're really challenging your nervous system. So we're dealing with afferent messaging, which means messages in the nervous system that are being sent back to the brain about what the body is doing, where it is in space. So a little bit harder for me on this leg, but I can do it. So just do a few knee bends, just let the legs relax after that. So how about we take the outside leg, just do a comfortable lift. Feel like you're grabbing a pencil, so the toes are tucking, and then pull down to the floor. And then release the pencil and come back up. So you grab the pencil and you pull it down. So again, this is ankle mobility. Grab the pencil, pull down. Grab the pencil. So we're doing between 3 and 5. I'm going to go for 5, so that's my 5th one. So come back to that lifted position. Now grab the pencil and lift up, and then let go of it. Grab the pencil, lift up, let go of it. Grab the pencil, lower down and lift up, let go. This is where I'm quite glad the chair is here. So you're grabbing the pencil, lifting up, grabbing the pencil, lifting up. So do a few knee bends because there are muscles action there as well. So I can feel my hip flexors and quads working quite nicely. Other leg lifts to a comfortable height. Grab the pencil and pull down. So think about, let go of the pencil, grab and pull down. So think about what your ankle is doing as you do this. Grab the pencil, pull down. Grab the pencil, and we're still doing balance and coordination and afferent messaging to the brain. Okay, so then grab the pencil lower down and pull up and let go of it. Grab the pencil lower down, lift up, let go. Grab the pencil, lift up. So probably today, at the end of this, your brain will have worked harder than even the joints. One more, grab, lift up, and come back down. So definitely a lot of quad work going on in there. So just do some ponies and let the legs relax. Even ponies is nice for the ankles. You can feel how the ankle is navigating that movement. So this one, we're gonna go back onto our heels, balls of the feet, balls of the feet. So it's heel, heel, ball, ball. Heel, heel, ball, ball. So we're flexing and then extending our ankles. So ball, ball, heel at the back, balls of the feet at the front, or those two bony landmarks at the front of the feet. So it's an unusual movement, and you'll notice your hips and your abs working in an interesting way to navigate this movement. So ankles and their flexibility are really important for walking. And again, there's proprioceptors around the ankles as well that are talking to the brain. Last one. So just do some ponies, let that go. So this one, we're going to take our hands together. Just working on balance, we're going to lift our right knee, or the knee that's nearest to the chair, and we're going to take the knee out and come in. So we're just starting to go up into the hips a little bit. But the main focus is balance. So once you've done that a few times, see if you could move the arms away and back to center. Ooh, this one's a challenge. So like I say, wobbling is not wrong. And then if you want to advance it, come through the midline and go the other way. Moving out. So even though this is hips, my ankle, my standing leg, is working super hard with lots of micro movements to try and find a way of telling the brain how to do that. Quite challenging, hey? So change legs, so you're going to lift the other knee, link the fingers, keep the hands in center and just turn out and turn in. And think about, what is my ankle doing as I'm doing this? So mine is wobbling all over the place. So then a little bit easier is to take the arms and the leg out at the same time so that you can use that to counterbalance, but the ankle still working really hard. There's a lot of spine stuff going on in here as well. And then if you think you can make it a little bit harder, you cross and you open. You cross, you open. I'm on my right leg this side, so it's a little bit easier for me than it was when I did the other side, but only marginally. So again, and I'm now very aware of my hips. Moving up from the ankles, just keep your feet and knees together. Put your hands on your knees and just do some knee circles. So knees are designed to move through many planes and go the other way. So keep your knees touching. So it's just a nice mobilization of the knee through a circular movement. We'll change one more time, go the other way. And it's a closed chain, which means the knees are together and your feet are on the floor. So that means there's a lot more stability in the knee when the knees are close together like this. So you can sort of explore that circular movement. Shake out the legs. So hips, we've gone from ankles to knees to hips. So take the outside leg into a comfortable lifted position, and we're going to turn the toe in, turn the toe out. We've got internal rotation, external rotation, internal rotation, external, internal, external. We'll make it easy by changing legs. We could do them all on one side, that's quite hard. So internal, I've changed the leg, external, turning in, turning out. So no bend in the knee, you're moving the head of the femur in the hip. Okay, a couple more. And foot down. When you're trying to find the hips, most people point here. That's the greater trochanter. The leg actually comes up on a slight diagonal movement and it comes in at the front here. So if you hinge at your hip, you should be able to feel where the leg goes into the front of the pelvis. It's about 3 inches in from the greater trochanter. So the movement for the hip is here, not here. So come back to the outside leg. Let's take the leg out to the side. Let's do an internal rotation, external rotation. So we're wiggling the femur, the head of the femur at the front of the pelvis around in the cup of the hip. So it's really, really good to keep the hip healthy, to keep the membranes, the cartilage around the hip oxygenated and healthy with good blood supply, so that you don't get degradation in the hip and hopefully never need a new hip. So try the other leg out to the side, a little bit close to the chair, turning in, turning out. Turning in, there's a little bit of a challenge on the mat, turning out. And you might notice there's a difference between right hip and left hip. So people with SI joint dysfunction with back problems always have one hip that's a little bit tighter than the other. It's just a reaction because of that. Who knows which comes first, whether it's the SI joint problem or the back problem, or whether it's the tightness in the hip that causes them. It's hard to know. But so you can feel those bottom muscles are waking up as well. Let's do a few knee bends. So then take the outside leg to the back and turn in, turn out. Turn in. Try not to involve your spine, so you're not arching, you're not leaning forward, you're in a nice neutral spine, turn in. So this is quite a difficult range. So the hip can move through 6 different directions, but extension, this one, is the one that we use the least. Okay, try the other leg. Turn in, turn out. Turn in. So you're really focusing on the inside of your hip and the movement of the head of the femur in the hip. A couple more, and come back in. So the hip protocol, this is one that we do quite a lot. You're going to lift the knee. You're going to bring the knee across the center line of your body. So that's called adduction. And then we're going to stretch to reach the floor. So that's just stretching out a super tight muscle in the hip. Come back into flexion, abduction, internal rotation. We've already done that. External rotation. Just a regular rotation to take as high as you can, the knee, around to the back. The hardest movement is extension. Put your hand on your lower back and just make sure your spine doesn't do any of that movement. Into flexion, into extension, high knee around, it's a nice stretch, adduction, move towards the center of the body and reach, into flexion, abduction, internal rotation, external rotation, high knee comes around, make sure the back doesn't move as you extend at the hip. As you flex at the hip, go back into extension, high knee around, and place the feet together. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to do it twice. I'm going to move the chair around. You could just change direction, you can turn around. So again, stand close to whatever you're holding. Flexion, adduction, so you feel that stretch in your hip. Reach to stretch these side muscles. Come back into flexion, abduct, take away. Knee drops, internal rotation. Knee turns out, external rotation. Just a regular rotation to take the highest knee you can around to the back. Extension, make sure you're not arching and leaning forward, so keep the hand on the chest or the back. Flexion into extension. High knee around. One more time. Adduct and stretch. Flexion, abduct. Rotation around. Into extension. Into flexion. Into extension. High knee around and place the feet on the floor. So this is the second most important part of our body for afferent proprioception, telling the brain where the body is in space. So where did we get to? Yeah, this one's an interesting one. It's really good for keeping the hips healthy. You're going to disassociate, so you're going to separate the movement of the pelvis on the standing femur. So the femur stays very still, and you're going to swivel, and you're going to make a, if you look down, it looks like an L shape. So you've got a bit of a stretch going on here. And then you're going to swivel around the femur, the standing femur, and you're going to make an L shape at the back. So swivel around, L shape at the front, so nice straight spine, swivel around. So what you're doing is you're moving the pelvis around the head of the femur, which is such a really great thing for your hips to do. It keeps them really healthy, helps with back pain, it helps with SI joint dysfunction, proprioception. Okay, we can advance that slightly by making the L shape at the front, bend both knees and just sort of hinge forward and just get a little bit of a stretch at the muscles at the back of the pelvis. Come back up, make the L shape at the back, swivel around, L shape at the front, bend the knees and just sit into a hinge. So that's one that really gets to those rotators at the back of the pelvis. L shape to the back. One more, L shape to the front, bend the knees a little bit and just hinge forward towards the knee on the stretching leg and come back up. So let's try that on the other side. So we're going to lift the inside leg. We're going to keep this femur perfectly still and we're going to swivel around the head of the femur and create an L shape. So if you look down, looks like an L, and then you swivel around the femur, L shape at the back. Swivel around. Now I'm on a tighter hip straight away. I can feel this is the problem hip for me. I've got stuff going on the other side, but that's a reaction to what's going on for me on this side. So you're taking care of your hips. It's going to help your back pain. It's going to help your glute pain. It's going to help your SI joint dysfunction. So keep going. I can feel as I do this, the torsion up through the spine as well, because this is the offending side. So I'm doing it gently. You can go to discomfort, that's fine, but not into pain. So now come into that front L shape, bend your knees and just hinge forward in the direction of the stretching knee, the leg that's stretching. Come back up, come out of it into the L shape at the back, L shape at the front, hinge forward. You're getting into those deep rotators that are underneath the glutes. One more. And come back up. So that's the hips. So from here, let's go into squatting. Squatting is the #1 exercise, really. You're going to have the feet together and you're just going to do an easy squat. So that again is a closed chain exercise. You've got your knees together, you've got your feet on the floor. So this is maximum stability, easiest of all the squats. But you still get movement of the femur in the hip, you get the activation of your glutes, you get transversus abdominis working. You work in the ankles, you work in the knees. Your head is moving around, so that occipital atlantic joint at the top of the spine is having to send a lot of messages back to the brain about what the body's doing and where it is in space. So then you advance that into hip space, easy squat. So as you separate the feet, you come out of that close chain, keep your knees over your big toes. You can feel now that the challenge has increased slightly. The squatting is really important core exercise. As you squat, it also releases tension in the spine. Got the cat making his appearance. I'm sure he thinks Zoom is all about him. Okay. So you do about 10 of these a day at least, just to keep the hips, the knees, the ankles nice and healthy. So then see if you could come into a deeper squat, one that's a little bit more challenging. Maybe do 5. Take the hands in front to help you with balance. Make sure you go to a depth that you can keep your heels down. Make sure the knees stay parallel. They're not buckling in to touch each other. That just weakens the knees, stresses the hips, makes it more dangerous to do. So once you've done those, you could come wider, toes turned out. This is called second position. It's a plie, knees over toes, inner thigh squeeze, pelvic floor. A little bit more core work going on in a plie squat. And the hips are externally rotated. So that means your rotators are working at the back of the pelvis. You're strengthening all the glutes, all 9 of your glutes. And you're just really working on good posture and stability in the pelvis. Keep going. So that's called a plie squat. And you choose a comfortable width that you can keep the knees tracking over the big toe and the first of the smaller toes. Find that tripod of bones in the feet. Last one. So if you had a yoga block or a book, or you can use your chair, you could navigate doing maybe 3 really deep squats by putting your heels on a raised book or yoga block, and just see if you can come down, nice straight spine, wiggle, 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 and push out of it. So going down through a straight spine, don't lean forward too much. If that's not an option for you, if your knees don't like it, you just miss this out. Wiggle, 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 pushing up. And maybe then you would try it without the yoga block. Nice straight spine, my heels are lifting slightly, but that's fine. Wiggle, 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 and pushing up. So if you do 3 of those, you're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger over the days and the weeks. Feet nice and wide, toes turned to front. You're going to bend your right knee. You're going to come from side to side. So you can feel this is a very strong stretch through the deep core, through the adductors. And you're moving your pelvis through a side plane now, lateral plane. So slightly different from the squatting. Gives you a good stretch into the glutes as well. There's a fair amount of ab work going on. So we're just doing a few of these to mobilize the hips. And then come back into center and rolling up into standing. In a standing position, feet hip space, let's come into the sacral pelvis. So the pelvis itself is all part of the spine, and then the sacrum is the lower part of the spinal column, and then we've got the lumbar spine. So lumbar sacral spine, and you're going to soften your knees, and you're going to just tuck your tailbone under and take your belly button towards the back, and then come back into neutral. So you're tucking under and come back into neutral. Tucking under So again, so we move now from the hips into the pelvis, into the spine. So we're tucking under, neutral spine, tucking under, neutral spine. Now swing the bottom towards the back and let the belly button move forward. Anterior tilt, neutral, posterior tilt. So we're swinging the tailbone out, the tailbone under. So just find your range through these. Just find what you're happy with. So you're tucking under, you're arching to the back. Tailbone out, tailbone swings under. So a really nice articulation of the lumbar vertebra into the pelvis. So the sacral vertebrae are all fused together, so they don't move individually, but where they meet the lumbar spine, that's a point where you really sort of want to work that area so that you don't get too stiff there. Okay. So coming into working the spine now, we're going to come into half circles. Now I've opened the door, we've got helicopters, there's always something. Feet hip space. You're going to do a little bit of a side bend. You're going to take that top shoulder, roll it forward, so bringing in the spine, roll through center, go all the way to the other side, and then bring the other shoulder up, so you're fairly square to come out of it. So my spine definitely complained a little bit when I did that, but you can go into discomfort, just not into pain. So side bend the other way. Top shoulder comes forward. Do this slowly. Roll around to the other side and then bring this other shoulder back so that your torso is very square and bring yourself back up. Let's do that again. Side bend. Top shoulder rolls forward. You roll through the half circle to the other side. You bring this other shoulder back. You come back up. Side bend. The shoulder rolls forward, you're rolling through. It's getting easier now. Bring the shoulder back, come back into standing. One more time. Side bend, shoulder rolls forward, roll through the half circle. Bring the other shoulder back, come back into upright. Last time, side bend, shoulder rolls forward. So the first one was a little bit uncomfortable for me, but now I can feel shoulder back that my back is getting more used to that. So that's the half circle in front of us. Let's do the half circle behind us. Cross your hands on your chest and you're going to do a side bend. You're going to bring this shoulder back, keep your chin tucked and come around into your side bend position and come back up. Side bend, take this shoulder back, come around, so maybe using your abs a little bit, come back into center. Side bend, this shoulder pulls back, chin is retracted, come around, into center. Side bend, this shoulder back, come around. One more each. Side bend, this shoulder back, come around, back into center. Last one, side bend, this shoulder back, come around. So for me, that was easier than the forward move motion, but it's different for everybody. So see now if we could put those two moves together. We'll go into a side bend. We'll take this shoulder forward, come around, come back through this shoulder, come around the back, back into your center position. So now go this way, side bend, shoulder forward, come around, take the other shoulder back, keep the chin retracted and come around the back into your side position, come into center. Let's do that again. Side bend, top shoulder forward, roll through the front half circle, take the top shoulder back, abs are on, chin is tucked around the back into side bend position. Last time, going this way, this shoulder comes forward, come around, take this shoulder back, roll through, and come back in. So quite an interesting movement, but very, very good for the back to articulate through a circle like that and really sort of challenge all the joints of the spine and really wake up those proprioceptors as well. So we're coming from the lumbar spine into the rib cage. So if you put one hand at the front of the rib cage, just push the ribs forward, come back into the middle, and then push the ribs back, come back into the middle. So rib cage forward, into the middle, rib cage back. So the thoracic spine is the least flexible part of our spine, but we can move here, but we just have to do it gently. Okay, so then put your fingers at the sides of your rib cage, move the ribs to one side, through center, other side. Now what I'm noticing when I do this is the junction, the thoracic lumbar junction. I can just feel there's a little bit of discomfort there. As I move my ribs to the side, those upper lumbar spine are being challenged as well, and they're just a little bit unhappy, but I can go into discomfort, that's okay, it's not pain, it's just stiffness and just a little bit of discomfort. So as I'm doing it, so I'm not moving my pelvis, there's nothing going on below, it's all in the ribs, center, side, center. So see if we can put those four movements together. We move forward, we move to the side, we move back, we move to this side, we move forward to this side, try not to move the hips, to the back, to this side. So I'm going to hold my pelvis to stop me moving my pelvis. Forward, side, back, side, forward, side, back, side, forward. Now try it in reverse. So now we're going to go to this side, to the back, other side and forward. Side, back, side, forward. A little bit more challenging for me to do it in this direction. And there's definitely lumbar spine connections. You can't really separate the spine. It's all one entity, but we do notice that at the joints where there's a change of function, that's where we get problems. So problems here, problems where the cervical vertebra meets the thoracic vertebra, problems where the thoracic vertebra meets the lumbar, and then problems where the lumbar goes into the sacral. So those four joints are areas of conflict and a lot of stuff going on there. So we've done the circle, that's great. So coming to the shoulder girdle now, just touch your shoulders. So the shoulder girdle is the breastbone, sorry, the collarbone, the scapula and the arm bones. So that is the wing of that side of your body. So collarbone, scapula, the bones of the arm. So put your hands on your shoulders and just lift up and lower. Lift up and lower. Up and down. So these exercises are really good for rotator cuff issues. So see now, if you can just check in. Protract, so protract means to bring forward and together, and retract is to take back and further apart. So protracting together, retracting back. Forward, protraction, retraction, protraction. So there's a lot of chest work going on here. So see if we can put those together. We're going to go up, we're going to go forward, we're going to go down, we're going to go back, up, forward, down, and back. Up, forward, down, and back. Up, forward, down, and back. See if we could reverse that. See if we could go down, forward, up, and back. Down, forward, up, and back. Down, forward, up, and back. One more. Down, forward, up, and back. And then just shake it out. So there's a lot of work going on there. We can certainly feel that we've worked quite hard. Coming to, I always think of Egyptian dancing when I do this. You're going to come into soft arms, elbows slightly bent, and you're going to reach out your right palm up, and you're going to turn your left palm down, and you're going to reach And you're going to switch and switch. So this is a great release for your rotator cuff. Now, as you're doing this, see if you could not focus on the hands turning up and down, but pulling down on the shoulder blade. So as you turn your palm up, pull the shoulder blade down on that side, and as you turn your palm down, that shoulder blade is lifting. So it's the shoulder blades moving. So one shoulder blade is up, one shoulder blade is down. So suddenly we're very aware of the muscles of the shoulder blade, upper back muscles, maybe the deep neck. So the deep neck is stabilized by the shoulder girdle. It's starting to get quite challenging. A couple more, go to fatigue, and just shake out the arms. Move the feet, we've been stood still for a while. Now this one, you're going to have the feet slightly apart. Really good for balancing tight, unbalanced rotator cuff muscles. You're going to make 2 soft fists, and you're going to do 40 circles, doing 10 forward. The circle is in the shoulder, not in the wrist. That's a cheat. So now circle backwards. Make sure the circle's in the shoulder, not in the wrists. I'm already aware of my chest muscles and my upper back muscles change direction. So if you did this every day, you would really notice an improvement in your shoulders. Last set, back, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And take the hands down, and your brain is very aware now of your shoulder girdle. And tight muscles have relaxed and weak muscles have been worked. So you're creating balance and harmony in the group. Put your soft fists on your temples. Stretch your elbows back, chest stretch. And then bring your elbows together, shoulder stretch. Stretching back and touching the elbows if you can. Stretching back. So let's do 15 of these. So again, working on balancing the rotator cuff. Keep the chin slightly retracted. We don't want our neck to be too dominant. So this is 6, 7. I already know that 15 is going to be unpleasant. 8, because I'm very aware of these muscles now. 9. And I'm quite surprised, 10, at how tight they are as well. Last set, 11. Last set of 5. 12. Make sure you're stretching to the back as well as touching the elbows. 13. 14. I'm glad I don't have to do 40 of these. And last one, 15. Woo. Roll the shoulders, move your neck. If your neck got a little bit tight, just because the deep muscles at the base of the neck are really working hard. And that's a good thing, but it's just me we're being challenged. Okay. We're coming into necks now. So mastoid process at the back of the ear, that bony landmark. If you point our fingers in, this is, if you connect the fingers, this is where C1 attaches to the skull. If you come down about 2 centimeters, that's C2. So we're on the bony process behind the ear, and we're just going to nod the head, and we're trying to nod the head from here. So we don't want the bones below this point moving. So this is a really important thing to learn. So this is our occipital atlantic joint, and this is where our brain gets most of its feedback about where the body is in space, where the head is in space. So when you've got neck issues, that seriously impacts your feedback. So it compromises your balance, your vision, your just range of motion generally, makes you feel disorientated and dizzy, and it makes you lose confidence because you're not quite sure about where everything is, and so you tend to slow down and adapt. Okay, so just release that for a minute. So mastoid process, come down about 2 centimeters. So this is C2, cervical 2. Turn your head right, left, and feel like you're moving from C2. So C1 is not the vertebra that you're going to use in rotation, it's C2. And people do use lower down, but that causes problems. You should be moving from this really important two bones at the top of your neck. Okay, relax for a minute. My shoulders are still tired from what we just did. So now find the edge of your jaw. Think about C2, 2 centimeters down. You're going to take one side of your jaw up, come through center, other side of your jaw up. So you're really stretching your suboccipital triangle, which goes from the base of the skull and comes down C1, C2, and then there's diagonal muscles that come back up to the mastoid process. So as you're doing the seesaw, you're really stretching the suboccipital triangle, which are really important muscles that keep the head and the neck in good alignment. These muscles can get super tight, and when they get tight, they pull the skull backwards and into rotation and really mess with your posture and cause a lot of pain, and also affect your balance. You can feel that feels really lovely. Now I'm going to grab our band. Oopsie-gooseball. They've done studies on people from countries like Africa where they carry heavy weights on their heads. So C1 and C2, and that occipital Atlantic joint is really, really worked hard. And they found that these people have perfect posture and they don't have headaches, migraines, neck issues, because this joint is very, very strong. And because they're walking and balancing, the proprioception to the brain is so advanced that they really know where they are in space. They're not going to stumble, they're not going to trip, they're carrying that heavy water on their head or whatever. So a good way to improve dizziness, migraines, neck issues is to do a little bit of work with the skull, with that joint at the top of the spine. And you want to get a band, and you've got to put the band slightly at the top of the head, but slightly towards the back. Otherwise, it's just going to pull off. Okay? So you're slightly towards the back, and then you're going to hold the ends. And I find if it's here, it affects my hearing. So I'm pulling my hands wide. Have the feet, so it's not going to move because it's slightly at the back of my skull. Otherwise, it will slip off of your hair. So wide hands, a little bit of tension until you become aware of that joint, that C1, C2 joint at the top of the spine. And then remember the mastoid process behind the ear, C1, we're just gently moving forward and back with a little bit of a pull on the band so that you're very aware that there's load on the joint, the occipital Atlantic joint. So this increased demand fires up all your proprioceptors, which means these nerves now are really talking to the brain. So it's part of the vagal system, really talking to the brain. And you'll find after you've done these that your neck will feel better, your balance will be improved, and maybe migraines and issues that are coming from here will calm down quite a lot. So now think about coming down 2 centimeters to C2, and you're going to just rotate the nose right, left from that high up position at C2. And you're still pulling down on the band so that you've got that load on C1, C2 to improve your feedback. So maybe this is a new thing to put into your repertoire if you do suffer from dizziness, if you suffer from neck pain, if you have migraines. Okay, and then the last one was one side of the jaw up, come back to level, other side of the jaw up. And you're trying to keep it at C2, 2 centimeters down from the mastoid process. So you're not bending from the middle of the neck, that's just going to irritate the neck. And I'm already finding the seesaw much easier. It was actually quite stiff and tight when I tried it to begin with, and now it's feeling a lot better. And come back into center. Take the band away. Just move your neck, move your head. So, protraction, retraction. So you're going to move your head forward. Try not to move at the shoulders or the pelvis, and then you're going to bring your head back, tuck your chin, and feel like the back of the skull is going up the wall towards the ceiling. So come back into the middle, protract into neutral, push the back of the head backwards, keep the chin tucked, and push the back of the skull up. So it's a sort of a down and forward type movement. So you're going forward, back, chin tucked and up. Protract, neutral, retract. Protract, neutral, retract. So again, this is really good for C1 and C2. Protract, neutral, slide the back of the head up, plus one, forward, neutral, and retraction. So then the final one is, this one's an interesting one. There's two more, not one more. You're going to take your hand, first fingers out from your temples a little bit. Try and keep your shoulders very still and just move your temple towards your finger back into center. So this is a really challenging range for the cervical vertebra. Keep your head level. So imagine you've got a book balancing on the head and you're just going from right side to left side. So this is a sort of an articulation of the discs and the vertebra in the neck. I'm getting better at it as I do it. And without the fingers, it's hard to coordinate, but with the fingers, it just really helps you to think about where you want to be. Roll the shoulders, move the neck. So then we're going to try making sort of a compass. So we're going to go forward into center, right, center, back, retraction, center, left, center, forward, center, right, center, back, center, left, center, forward, center. In reverse, left, center, back, center, right, center, forward. My brain doesn't like this direction quite so much. So that's just purely proprioception. It's not the muscles, it's just my ability to use my nervous system in my least favorite direction. So let's do a few shoulder rolls, move your neck. I can feel that my neck muscles are feeling really strong and turned on. So the final one, using your nose, is a figure of 8. And as you make the figure of 8, so the figure of 8 is like this, you're going down and the jaw on the other side is up to the ceiling. And then as you go the other way, this jaw is up to the ceiling. And you're just going to really navigate, do it nice and slowly so that your neck is comfortable with what you're asking it to do. So this one's really, you know, mobilizing the cervical vertebra. It's also getting into your scalenes and your sternocleidomastoid. So lots of muscle work going on here as well as vertebral. Couple more. Last one. And then come back to center. So as we do these neck moves, we're turning on all those proprioceptors that are sending messages, afferent messages back to the brain, telling the brain where everything is in space. Wrists. So we're going to make 2 soft fists, and we're just going to go down and up, down and up. So there's a lot of forearm stretching as we articulate the wrists. So you could turn that into sort of a wave type movement. You could, I'll do it this way. So you sort of up and down, but adding in a little bit of arm extension as well, so that you're moving the extensors and the forearm muscles, and you could do it backwards. So you're just moving. So it's quite a strange one. And then you could You could do it side to side, right to left. Bring in the below the elbows as well. So there's a little bit of a sort of a wave. So you don't want to make it too strong. You don't want to strain these muscles, especially if they're already really tight. You're just using movement to relax them. So then you're going to take your right hand, you're going to pull the fingers towards the forearm. You're going to stretch the bones of the hand. And then you could pull the fingers back towards the arm, towards the arm. You could make that a sort of a wave action. So you're sort of moving the arm as you flex. Okay, this side, pull the fingers back. Pull them towards the elbow on the underside, pull them towards the elbow on the top side. So if you're doing a lot of hammering or, you know, using tools or whatever, these forearm muscles get super tight. We're articulating the bones in the hands as well. Take your thumb down with your palm facing out, hold the back of the hand and just bring the hand toward your breastbone and just push it out. So this is elbow, wrist and forearm muscles. Okay. And then we'll do it to the other side. Thumb down, palm facing out, hold the back of the hand, bring the back of the hand to the breastbone, extend outwards. Do that a few times, just see. So I'm definitely tight in the muscles of my hands and the muscles of my forearms. So it feels really lovely to get into here. If you've got, if you've been doing a lot of gripping, if you've got pain in the fingers, the bones of the hands and the thumb, a really good stretch is to stretch your thumb and your first finger as wide apart as you can, and then stretch the second finger as wide away from the first finger as you can. And as you do that, you'll feel it in the joint of your thumb. It's a really handy release to know. So do that again. So thumb and first finger stretch apart, and then the second finger pulls away from the thumb. So it's like a three-prong. You feel the joint of your thumb. So if you do that about 10 times, so you're really trying to stretch those three fingers as wide apart from each other as you can. So let's do it with both hands. So really, really important release for anyone that's got RSI of the hands. I get this one from trigger point work. And again, and also that reflexology point, if you close the finger and the thumb, you see the crease, you go behind the crease between the thumb and the finger. If you just squeeze the muscle there and then wiggle your fingers, that's really good if you've got pain and tightness restriction. Sometimes when these joints get really overworked and tight, you find that the hands get weaker because the nerves into the muscles are being, affected, and that weakens the muscles. So just doing this is really good to help to keep the hands strong and functional. So I'm finding the crease and going behind the crease. I'm pressing from the thumb at the back and the fingers at the front into the thenar, which is the mound at the base of the thumb, and I'm pressing and squeezing until it almost hurts a little bit, and just wiggle the fingers. It's really good. And then for the bones of the hands, you can just thumb and first finger flick, thumb and second finger flick, third finger, fourth. That's a bit of a tongue twister. First, second, third, fourth. Flick, flick, flick. And as you're doing that, if you make it into an arm fling as well, you're really getting into the tight muscles of the forearms, the elbows, the wrists. You can move the hands around to different positions, overhead, in front, out to the side. So it becomes quite a lot of work in the end, but you'll find it afterwards, if you just shake out, that your hands and your bones of your hands feel so much better. Okay, so we're going to move the chair. We're going to maybe grab the band, and we've run out of time for ab work. So we're just going to come into one last one. Coming into 4-point kneeling. So one for the spine, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. You're going to lift your right foot and you're going to just let your right foot sway out and you're going to turn your head to look at your right foot. And then you're going to bring your right foot across to the left side and you're going to turn your head and look at the foot again. So you're looking at the right foot down the right side of the body. You bring the right foot across to the left side. You're looking at the foot down the left side. So as you swing the head and the foot, you're really getting into the spine. That is finishing with the spine. And come back into center. Lift your left foot. Take your left foot to the left side and look at the foot down the left side of the body, and then bring it across to the right side and look at it from the right side. So you're swinging the foot out, looking at it, swinging the foot in, looking at it, swinging the foot out, swinging in, and put the foot down. Just sit into the heels, just take a nice deep breath. And then rolling up into the knees. And so that was mobility, focusing on joints and really proprioception.